Well, it's a beautiful Tuesday, the 8th of July in the year 2025. Thank you so much for making time to join us for this special edition of Costa. I'm your host. My name is Andrew Mwansa, sitting in for Costa Mwansa. Now, tobacco remains one of Zambia's most economically significant crops, supporting thousands of farmers and contributing valuable foreign exchange to the national economy. As the regulator of the industry, the Tobacco Board of Zambia plays a critical role in ensuring fair trade, protecting farmer interests, and maintaining market stability. However, the current market season has been marked by serious challenges, from farmer complaints about unmet buying agreements to allegations of unethical practices by some merchants, with growing concerns over price manipulation, illegal deductions, and market disruptions caused by unlicensed vendors and foreign actors. Stakeholders are demanding greater accountability and transparency. On tonight's special edition of Costa, we seek clarity from the board chairperson of the Tobacco Board of Zambia, Mr. Daka, on the steps being taken to address these issues, enforce compliance, and chart a sustainable path forward for Zambia's tobacco industry. He joins me after this. Tobacco Board of Zambia Chairperson, Mr. Daka, good evening. Thank you so much for making time to be a part of tonight's edition of Costa to discuss this very important topic.
Good evening, Mr. Monsan. I'm very much delighted to be given this opportunity to just parcel out a few things regarding the tobacco sector.
I'd like for us to start from the top. How important is the tobacco industry to Zambia's economy and the rural livelihoods?
So the importance of tobacco production in country is as important as any other agricultural crop. Let me start by highlighting that out of the 5 to 6%, also 4% of the total agricultural contribution to national GDP, 75% of that agricultural GDP comes from the tobacco industry. So put it together, maize, soybeans, and 100%, 75% of that comes from the sector that I'm representing tonight. How's that for importance? Number two, every marketing season, this country is responsible for a recruitment, both direct and indirect, job-wise, of 300 to 450,000 jobs across the value chain. Okay? Then there's also what we call import substitution. Yeah, there are certain companies in country that are manufacturing cigarettes, and they pick a commodity called cut rag. This is obviously an intermediary resource, so it's a refined tobacco that goes into production of cigarettes. They bring it from different walks of life, but with the strategies that the tobacco industry now has engulfed, we are finding that there's a fair share or a decent share of import substitution. Now we're not importing, but we're making those locally. So there's also a value addition. Most of the times maize in this country would go out as maize, and then the recipient jurisdictions turn them into cornflakes and all these other things. Equally, tobacco grows out as green tobacco, then the guys there would make it into pesticides or cigarettes, cigars, and but now we've changed the template. Nothing goes out unless there's a shortage of capacity in terms of production. That's when we send it out as green, but there's value addition. So I've spoken the importance, value addition, import substitution, contribution to national GDP, as well as a fair share of employment creation.
What is the role of the Tobacco Board of Zambia in ensuring fair trade and protecting farmer interests?
So our role, the Tobacco Board of Zambia is a regulator. So this is the regulating entity in country. And our role is to ensure that there is transparency, in the way the crop is produced, there is transparency in the way the marketing is undertaken. There's integrity as well in the way we produce and in the way we are also selling the crop. Then there's also fairness in the way we push the price of this commodity. There has to be price competitiveness. Now, our role is to ensure that every time the marketing season begins, right, we ensure sustainable tobacco production. Now, the sustainable part of it really is broad or general, but I'll endeavor to parcel it out. Number one, I'm talking about the deforestation side of things. You know, this is a crop that is synonymous to cutting down of trees but you know, I've stood podiums and podiums where I've argued that tobacco is not the only crop that cuts trees, you know. Even you, Mr. Mwansa, today you apply for a farm, Ministry of Lands gives you a farm. You're not just going to plant your maize or soybeans without clearing the farm. That is cutting down of trees. But here we add a layer of sustainable production. What are we saying? We're telling the people you need to have woodlots where you should apportion growing of trees. For example, our strategic plan as the Tobacco Board of Zambia is speaking of 10 million trees in the whole system of the tobacco strategic plan. Already we are nearing 1 million trees planted from the 2.5 years that we launched our strategic plan. So that shows the level of commitment. Now, in terms of compliance and regulation, before we issue out a license, we need to ensure that these people that are coming in are adhering to all these practices that you are asking about. So ours is not really enforcement and compliance, but we really need to ensure that there are certain deliverables that these guys are holding on to. We are growing in a lot of chiefdoms in this country, and you find that there's an interaction between ourselves and the chiefs or traditional leadership. And you find that time without number, our offices have been receiving letters of complaints where the chiefs are registering displeasure on how certain merchants are just growing without really putting at the back of their minds the responsibilities that are tied to the issuance of their licenses. And this, I'm speaking about sustainable tobacco production. Then secondly, there's also an aspect of corporate social responsibility. We, as Tobacco Board of Zambia, we've really told these people to run away from the scratch the surface corporate social responsibility or corporate social investment. We want them to embed corporate social investments in their corporate actions. Why? Because most of the jurisdictions where this crop is grown, you'll find that people are lessening the cultivation of any other crops. They are diverting their energies to cultivating tobacco. Why? Because of its credibility, capacity, financial-wise. It's a very lucrative crop. I'll tell you, 100 kgs of tobacco now, pure grade, fetches 7,000 to 9,000 kwacha. So it's one of the most lucrative crops, you know. And this is also a crop, just speaking about advantages and contribution to the economy. This is a crop also that is very tied to the warmth of the foreign exchange. Right about now, we have about 13 merchants that are buying. These merchants, some of them are headquartered outside the country. So there's an influx of forex that comes in the country at a particular period. So I just wanted to ensure that I leave nothing in trying to give out the sort of contribution that tobacco does to the economy, as well as our mandate in making sure that we regulate. So we ascribe to the Ministry of Agriculture. We are an act of parliament, yes, and our line ministry is the Ministry of Agriculture. So most of the things that we do are in tandem with the aspirations of the Ministry of Agriculture.
Well, it's good that you mentioned that everything you do is in tandem with the Ministry of Agriculture, which is like the mother body of where your organization, belongs. I'd like to find out also, some of the regulations that guide, the tobacco industry in our country.
So tobacco production in country is responsible or is regulated and governed under the Tobacco Act number 10 of 2022, which was repealed, obviously. And this is the act where we draw all the powers that we use when it comes to regulation. So everything is blueprinted in that act. And why am I saying everything? From the way we obtain merchants, okay? from the way we obtain merchants, and merchants I mean the buyers that are buying or the sponsors. I want to also mention to you, Mr. Mwansa, and viewers out there, that this crop is a highly regulated crop, and it is a crop that is contracted crop. Like 93% of all the crop in country is contracted.
So you must have a license.
So you must have a license.
So like maize, where if I have, I could perhaps just get a piece of land and plant my maize, but it's different with tobacco.
It's different because it's a controlled crop. It's a substance that really is surrounded by, quote unquote, a lot of watchdogs. I think maybe in the latter end of our discussion, I'll touch something that really frowns about, obviously, the production of tobacco. But this is a crop that we really need to put it this way. Right about now, the Minister of Agriculture and the government of the Republic of Zambia just obviously signed the production of industrial hemp. Now, imagine if they just said, look, a license is ABCD, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can come through us and get. Look at the chaos that would cause. There are people who would not want probably to strictly adhere and produce industrial hemp. They can produce the other side of hemp. So that's why I'm talking about the controls. So what happens is a farmer expresses interest that they want to grow the crop. They need to come to the Tobacco Board of Zambia if they are independent, and they'll be given what is called a VZ number. This is a unique identification number that allows you, Mr. Mwansa, to participate. Why? Because every time you are producing, you need to notify the regulator of what you are expecting to produce, the volumes, and what sort of hectareage are you going to obviously cultivate. So that's why we really are very strict when it comes to that. Why? We have numbers, we have statistics. For example, this year this country is expecting 56 to 67 million kgs of tobacco. Kgs of tobacco. Now, how did we arrive at 66 million? We have the database. So farmers in Chipata probably are accounting for 51 or 52% of the national crop production. We have Southern Province, Western, and all these other jurisdictions, Central inclusive. Now we even went into the northern part of the country, Luapula area. Also, there's chiefdoms and chiefdoms that are happy to produce in the crop. But again, this crop is a very scientific crop. It's a crop that calls for a lot of extension services, if you like. So we have to make sure that the people that are going into production are not producing this crop in a hazardous way, because there are certain lookouts that we want to ensure that everyone who is producing the crop is adhering to. Number one, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry, like I mentioned, can cultivate. You can be Mr. Mwansa with 100 hectares of farmland and producing the crop. We need to make sure that when you're growing the tobacco, you're not exposing the growth of this tobacco to the kids, because of certain substances that comes with that. And then we're also trying to understand, where are you growing? Do you have curing facilities? Okay, because you can't claim I'm growing 1,000 hectares when you don't have curing facilities. How are you going to cure the product? So it is quite a very scientific, like I mentioned, crop, which cannot be done without the watchman of manship of the regulator.
How tedious is it for a small farmer to acquire a license for them to go and produce tobacco?
So it's not tedious. It's a very simple exercise, very, very simple exercise. And you will find that, like I mentioned, most of these farmers, since they are blanketed under the merchants who sponsor them, like outgrower schemes. So now the merchant will pick a database. For example, I'm growing in Kalulushi. So I'll pick my database of 150 or 1,500 or 2,000 farmers, bring it to the regulator. Now this database should have field Daka, Costa, Mwansa, their NRC, their expected volume, and. So when we get that and upload it in our system, it gives the impotence, it gives the freedom for such a farmer to grow. Now, should that farmer fall off from the sponsored list, okay, next year they want to do it alone, because they already are in my database or in our database, it's easy for them to grow the crop. Why? Because even the seed itself, you don't just go into a pharmacy or a seed company which is not designated by the regulator to buy. There are designated points where you get the seed, because this seed is controlled. Why do we control the seed? There's what we call chemical traceability. And at some point, I don't know how far back you have followed the tobacco industry, we plummeted in terms of production. That was somewhere around 2017, 2013, somewhere thereabouts, where our tobacco, which was exported in the marketing area, so most of the tobacco grown in country finds itself in Southeast Asia, China, as well as part of it in Switzerland or Geneva or maybe Germany. Let me put it this way. Now, when this crop is going in that jurisdiction, there is need to understand that this crop was sustainably produced. This crop carries along a very good record in terms of an analysis. It does not carry any foreign material that might jeopardize our market share. So back then, our crop went, because obviously this was found that we had entertained crop that came from different jurisdictions, or probably a crop that slipped the grip of the regulator in terms of production compliance. Then when the crop went there, boom, we took almost 30-something million kgs. Out of the 30-something million, this country was pushed to start producing 10 to 12 million kgs. So how's that for economic viability? And the GDP contribution that I mentioned. So now we are very, very alive to the fact that that issue that happened, we should not repeat itself. That's why we now respond to a small-scale farmer there, come into our cells, register with us, we give them a VZ number for them to ensure that they are within the thresholds of production, because we are able to tell this crop came from here and this is what is going on.
The numbers you're mentioning are quite amazing. Our main foreign exchange, it comes through, our mining sector, through copper. Do we determine the price of tobacco, unlike, copper?
That's a very fair question, and we are aspiring to reach to that level where the Ministry of Agriculture, ourselves as the Tobacco Board of Zambia, would sit in one room and I think give out a credible price for the crop, as is with the maize side of things. Now you find that tobacco, we affiliate to a Tobacco 5. This is an association, a SADC association that is formed by tobacco growing jurisdictions: Tanzania, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Zambia. So in these jurisdictions, price fixing is done at government level. It's only in country where we don't do that. But we don't shy away. Indirectly, I would say we have a hand. Why? Because when the merchants now are bringing to the market, 2-3 months before the market, they are expected to bring what is called the price matrix. So the price matrix is what now entails how much they're going to buy from the highest to the lowest grade. And remember, this is a dollar-denominated crop. So when one merchant brings that particular price matrix, we endorse it, and that's the price matrix they should run with in that particular market.
What is the current, price matrix?
So we started, the highest we recorded, the current price matrix was $5.20, which was very, very good, $5.20 per kg. And now the price average now is hovering around $2.60 to $2.80, somewhere thereabouts. Yeah.
How does TBZ ensure compliance and enforcement within the industry?
That is our bread and butter. That's what we dream. That's what we ensure to do. But it's not really a walk in the park. Regulation in country is not a walk in the park, because there are certain pockets of cadres, I'm not talking the political ones, obviously, that would want to just escape compliance and regulation. So it is not very easy, and it is not very difficult to regulate. Number one, why is it not difficult? Easy part, we have the regulations that really run along the act. Okay, so like I mentioned, every buyer or every merchant, every sponsor, when they are coming in country, they have to ensure that they apply, and we subject them to a very rigorous system in terms of due diligence. We need to understand where they coming from. Do they have the capacity to come and buy the crop? Because the funny part about this crop, Mr. Mwansa, is that you can push in $3 million, but your expectation to buy the crop that you have sponsored at $3 million should be maybe $12 million. So we need to ascertain these guys, when they are coming in the market, do they have that kind of capacity? Okay, do they have that kind of capacity to ensure that what they've pushed in, they'll be able to mop? And then two, also, do they have they have ways that they won't bring any other tobacco from any other jurisdiction but buy that which is theirs? Now, why is it difficult? Let me put it this way. In the law, it is very categorical and straightforward that me as merchant A and you as merchant B, every marketing season when you sponsor the crop, you need to ensure that you have given the farmers the inputs. You've given the farmers the twine, because obviously you need to come and tie. You've given the farmers the Haitians. Now, Haitians is those brown sacks that we bale the tobacco in. And baling of tobacco moves from obviously 60, 70 something kgs to 130 something, 140 something kgs. So you need to make sure that you have provided those necessities, I call them necessities or prerequisites, to the farmers. That's a regulation. You asked about how easy it is. But you find that there are certain merchants that would only come in and push in crop, the seed. Then they are waiting for a nursery. When they transplant and go there, then they go and look for other resources to come and give the farmers, maybe the fertilizer, the basil, the can, and. But you find that if you have not spelled out your financial readiness or preparedness
as a merchant,
you will fall short. And I won't lie to you, and I'm not shying away to mention that even this season we've had a number or two of merchants that have fallen short and have caused quite a very displeasing sort of complexion in the sector. So it's not easy. We need to ensure that we are there to ensure that these guys have these things. And then the law also, to some extent, stipulates that we need to ensure the new entrants are well policed. So if you're a new entrant, you want to buy tobacco, if your volume is 3 million kgs and 3 million kgs is fetching for $10 million, you have to make sure that that $10 million is sitting somewhere, or let alone in the Tobacco Board of Zambia's account, so much so that you don't fall off the prescribed payment threshold and duration. So in the Act, it is stated that when tobacco is sold by a small scale, large scale, or whoever that sells to the merchant, the transactions should settle in the next 72 hours. So those are some of the things. Now, the noises that we are seeing are noises because some farmers have gone a month, even plus, without being compensated or paid for the crop that they've supplied to the merchant. So it's not really easy, but it's also something that you can't just put because it is lying in the statute and you forget about it because it's in the law. It's something that we have to ensure we are timeously conversing with all the merchants and stakeholders. That's why we have extension officers. That's why we have regional tobacco inspectors or RTIs, or if you like. These are the people that are constantly discussing with these people to ensuring that come the marketing season, everything is well. Now, regulation, whilst we're still at that, we have designated selling points in country. We call them sales floors, tobacco sales floors. So, for example, in Chipata, we have a main sales floor, which is superintended by the Tobacco Board of Zambia, of course managed by a private entity, Eastern Tobacco Association. Then here in Lusaka, we have one sales floor, which is obviously owned by the Tobacco Board of Zambia, but it's run by an association, the Tobacco Association of Zambia. The next door where the mills is, the machine, the GLT, the green leaf threshing is, we have Tombwe processing. Also there it's a sales floor they can buy. Now, I'll tell you something. It is not easy to run these sales floors, because if somebody knows there's a market for something, they won't care where they are bringing the crop from. They will just bring the crop from all walks of life and take it to the market. But due to the restrictive nature that goes and calls for accurate and strict scrutiny on who's bringing what and where it's coming from, those are the trucks that you are finding marooned outside, and people will go to the streets, corridors of the ministerial offices, presidential offices, and all these other players to go and complain that there is chaos in the country, the regulator is not doing ABCD and. because they've used the back route to enter and find themselves where they are. Yes, I'm agreeing there are challenges. There are challenges that are coming. For example, when the market was opened on the 22nd of this year, everyone rushed to buy in the crop.
Yeah.
So you find that the same volumes that we mentioned, Mr. Mansa, in my preamble, were met earlier than. So remember, the market opens in March. We open in April this year. Then by September, we should have closed the market. But when our RTIs and all the inspectorate has gone out and found that there's more tobacco lying there, we give an extension, 30 days extension, and we finally close at the 30th or on the 30th of October. Now, when there will be tobacco still lying, the farmers have the right to retain the tobacco and integrate it in the next marketing season. This is what we do.
That's what you're doing. Allow me to quote what has been said about the regulator, and allow me to quote Chief Chanja, who has been quoted of stating that the 2024-2025 tobacco marketing season has been the worst in recent memory, accusing field officers of corruption and exploitation, and is actually accusing you and the board, of failing to address persistent complaints from farmers, and also accusing you of neglecting your responsibility to regulate, this particular industry. What is your position over these allegations that are coming from you, from a chief?
You see, everyone, Mr. Monsa, and viewers out there is entitled to an opinion. So you can speak according to the way you analyze and assess a particular moment. So he's speaking from his own analysis. But put it this way, Chipata is an area where the Tobacco Board of Zambia has been frequenting in terms of trying to align practices. Okay? And Chipata is an area where most of the tobacco that we produce in the country comes from. That's why we cannot neglect and we cannot afford to go to sleep when there is chaos going on there. Now, responding to assertions of that magnitude, number one, this market being the worst market ever. When we came in as the Tobacco Board of Zambia, we found 3 to 4 merchants buying the tobacco. We have, like I mentioned, 13 to 12 merchants. What does that entail? The people have grown this season more than they used to grow because they know their crop has got what market. I don't know how worse that is. Number two, the government of the Republic of this country, Zambia, went in and made sure that we run with the aspirations enshrined in the 8th National Development Plan, and all other development strategies that promulgate economic transformation. In this case, I'm talking about there's this thing that we're talking about where they parceled out the decentralization agenda, I beg your pardon, the decentralization agenda. What have we done? In responding to the decentralization agenda as the Tobacco Board of Zambia, we went in and ensured that we created sales floors for people that grow tobacco. Remember I mentioned that we have one marketing sales floor in Chipata. Yeah. Chipata or Eastern Province is very vast. We have Chadiza, we have Mugubudu, we have Chief Mwasempangwe, we have people that would want to travel as far as 400 to 500 kilometers to take in the crop to Chipata. What you did was, the poor farmer who's trying to take 10 bales to Chipata, suffer transportation, suffer long hours due to the deplorable states that the roads are in some of these areas that I'm just itemizing. We needed to have given them a doorstop market. Have we done that? Yes, we have done that. Okay? Farmers are now buying in nearby designated buying sales floors. How's that for this 2025 marketing season being a worse one? But in the previous years, we didn't see.
But it's the farmers that are complaining. So even the chief is the farmers.
So I'm coming there, Mr. Mansa. Number two, farmers complaining. These farmers that are complaining, and what is it? The question is, what is it that we as the TBZ we are doing? There's a lot of investigations that have gone into this. And on this platform, I want to make sure to make mention that what I'm trying to bring about is evidence-backed. There's an investigation that has been taken. Some of the crop that these farmers, and some of these people that are even speaking the loudest are not farmers, are vendors. And one of our enforcement responsibilities is to ensure that we narrow vending. We need to make sure that tobacco is really bought from well-deserving farmers. I'm using the word some in capital letters. So the same farmers that are crying, we have pushed in an investigation to understand who is their merchant, who sponsored them. So put it this way, remember, a farmer cannot grow if they are sponsored, if the merchant has not given them a mandate and certain deliverables. So if those merchants indeed, they have left the farmers to hang dry, and these farmers were producing based on the agreement, there's an agreement. And I'm urging farmers right about now that all of you who have a contract with these farmers, and the farmers, the merchants, and the merchants have not bought you, come forth, bring the contract, let us know how much hectarage, and the form of sponsorship, and let us know which one really sponsored you. Then we are going to ensure that they buy. And these are talks that we are having with these people to ensure that you went out there, procured the crop, made the farmers produce, and you're not buying, you're disadvantaging the farmers. There are school fees to be paid, there are rentals to be paid, and some of these farmers who do 6 to 7 hectares, they also contract workers. So how are they going to pay the workers?
In fact, you're wrong, Mr. Daka, because the argument here is that most of these farmers are contracted farmers and not vendors. Allow me to quote what was being said here. Just 2 days ago, Chipangali District Council Chairperson Maxon Koma called on government to intervene and protect the interests of tobacco farmers following challenges experienced during the 2025 tobacco marketing season. He said some tobacco companies have failed to buy tobacco from farmers, causing panic and distress among those who have not yet sold their crop. Mr. Nkoma explained that upon receiving complaints from tobacco farmers in Eastern Province, his office conducted physical inspections at major tobacco market flows in both Chipata and Lusaka to verify the farmers' concerns. He noted that at the Chipata main tobacco flows, most companies licensed by the government to buy tobacco had stopped purchasing, which has alarmed farmers still holding on and sold tobacco. According to Mr. Nkoma, checks at the JTI Baobab tobacco flows showed that JTI was nearing its purchase target for the 2025 season, despite many of its contracted farmers still having unsold tobacco. So these are contracted
farmers, and I was busy trying to obviously elucidate that concern. And this is our colleague, the chair for Chipangali.
Yeah.
We converse. And right about now, even in Chipangali there where this mayor is speaking like that, we've taken an investor there. Okay, we've taken an investor who to this level, this investor is writing to the Tobacco Board of Zambia trying to pull out. Why? Because of the mistreatment. This investor went in with millions of dollars of sponsorship. And today, the market is almost 3 months plus in motion. They've only recovered 13 to 15%. Whilst as the company that you mentioned there, who's saying they are nearing their completion target, they've really run a race. Now, you see, like I mentioned, when we went in, one of the things that we wanted to really solidify as a Tobacco Board of Zambia is a spirit of dialogue, which we had assessed that it was missing.
Yeah.
And why did we do that? Yes, we might be the regulator, but there is no one size fits all, and you can't know everything. You are a regulator who's supposed to work with proxies. These are people that we have implored and encouraged. When there's something happening, bring it to the fore. Don't rush to the media, because we'll sit on the table like this and try to rebut with a torrent of empirical evidence. You know, a disgruntled mind would push a certain agenda very far off what is obtaining on the ground. Now, speaking to the farmers that you mentioned, yes, these are farmers. The verifications, like I'm mentioning, I've gone through, and I'm very happy that the same company that has been cited, I think, has done remedials to that effect. They went and did verification, and we found that yes, not 100% of the people that marooned their trucks out there where they are sponsored farmers. It should be maybe a 30%. And as I'm speaking to you today, being a holiday, tomorrow, I think every noise that you've been getting at their particular force should come to a close. because they would have bought from them that they gave the inputs. These other people that want to buy are people who, Mr. Mwansa, today you have a VZ number and you've sold your quota, but somebody has tobacco, they want to use your VZ number, because remember I mentioned law will not permit me to sell tobacco if I'm not registered. You get the point? So they want to use. Now, that's a chain. Those are the people, some of them. I'm not saying everyone. They are innocent and genuine farmers whose tobacco have not been bought, and those are the ones that are talking. That's why we've gone in to say do the verification, and we have given the merchants an ultimatum. You know, close this week. We need to make sure that the tobacco that these people have not sponsored and have not bought is bought. We are in liaison with all the CEOs and general managers and directors of all these merchant or buying companies. Yeah. And we've told them that. Why are we telling them that? That's an enforcement of ourselves as TBZ. We need to ensure that the plight of the farmers that these people contracted is what? Is protected.
It's protected. Mr. Daka, are merchants authorized, to change price metrics mid-season?
No, merchants are not authorized to change price matrices mid-season. Put it this way. When the season is starting, they have to send a price matrix to ourselves as a regulator, which we endorse. Yeah. Something goes against or to or for in their favor, and they're trying to probably mop that which is not included on that price matrix. They are at liberty to come to the TBZ board and tell us, colleagues, we want to be buying maybe the suckers, want to be buying the low-end tobacco, which we did not include on here. Can you allow us? And the price is ABCD. They've amended. We will sign and amend. But when it comes to price adjustments, put it this way, these adjustments and the noises that these people are mentioning, TBZ Chipata Flows was closed, it is because we moved in as a regulator and we saw that these merchants want to show the farmers a short end of the stick. They want to unscrupulously or somehow shortchange the farmers. You've communicated a price, buy it at that price. So for you to come and change the price halfway is something that you would have done at the agreement and endorsement of who? The regulator. But if you're doing it alone there, that is not right. That's why. Is
it unlawful? Can you be charged for that?
Yes, you can be charged for that. You can be yes, we have certain, because we are not part of the price fixing, and we have certain that want to sarcastically deal with this situation, and they'll come to us and say, you know what, the regulator caught which act says I can't change my price halfway, yada yada. No. Why do we do it at the beginning? It shows that it is under the ambit of the regulator. So even when you want to change it midstream, come and converse with the regulator. Now, the law, the same law that I quoted and the regulations, discretion lies within who? Ourselves, as the regulator. So they bring to us, and then we see, this one is a national issue. We bounce it back to our line ministry, which is the Ministry of Agriculture, and via all those solid and Blu-ray conversations, we will be permitted to endorse that. So it's either or. We can allow or we can't allow, but they cannot do it without the consumption of the regulator.
What is TBZ's stance on nesting, where multiple buyers operate under a single license?
This is a cancer that this sector has endeavored to cure for the longest of time. And even when we started this marketing season, we made sure that in all our stakeholder consultation programs or pre-marketing season meetings, we mentioned to the farmers and the stakeholders. We told them, colleagues, refrain from nesting. Now, nesting is where you're supposed to bring Mr. Mwansa L1 or L01. You bring that variant or that variety. On top you have put that, and then in the middle you put very low grade tobacco. Very low grade, which does not really mark and suit the threshold of what you have put on the top. Why are you doing that? That's a fraudulent move by gouging your bells and making sure that you've made some good monies. So you might have, let's say, 10 tons of good tobacco, then you make 10 tons of tobacco into 20 tons. So you mix. You make 5 tons good and 5 times bad. You go on the other side, 5 times good, 5 times. So that is against the law. The law really frowns about that. And then you asked also about the 2-tier price matrix. We don't allow that. When you issue a price matrix, it's a price matrix. You need not to look at my face. Mr. Daka does not have money. I'll sell it at 1/4. Mr. Mwansa comes smelling and looking dollars. I'll sell at so much dollars. You are not supposed to do that, and it's against the law. And we have questioned and discussed with certain merchants or buyers who we have sought or thought that they were doing something of that magnitude. It's a punishable offense. You're not supposed to do that.
It's good you've preempted that, because my next question was to find out how side marketing, is affecting the integrity of the contract system.
That also, in relation to nesting, is another form of cancer that really needs really aggressive chemotherapy in the tobacco sector. Why am I saying that? Put it this way. When the market was opened this year on the 22nd of April, the farmers who were sponsored by Phil Daka Enterprises, because Phil Daka probably was trying to prepare the finances and all these things to open their flows and come and buy, farmers for Phil Daka Enterprises goes to sell to Mr. Mwansa Investments. That is side marketing. We don't allow that. So that's why even in the law, remember I mentioned about the packaging, which is the Haitians. These merchants need to brand their Haitians. So when you brand your Haitians, Phil Daka Investments, Mr. Mwansa Enterprises, the tobacco that you sponsored should sit in your Haitians. So if I find that my Haitians crossed and came to you, I need to question. But in the other side of the coin, there is some innocence there, where you find that the farmer has been is an independent farmer, and the only thing that they want to do is to sell their tobacco, and they don't have anywhere to put. They'll use a Haitian which is available and go and sell legitimately, but that's an offense. It's not like I can go to ShopRite with a ShopRite bag and then use the same ShopRite bag in Pick and Pay. You can't do that. So this is what the Haitian part and the vending, the side marketing part. Side marketing is something that we have talked about, and why are we enforcing that? That's why you are seeing these disruptions, okay, in the markets, that is causing a lot of panic in those jurisdictions where people are taking to the media to go and say all these things.
So for the independent commercial farmers, where is their market?
So remember, independent commercial farmers also have an agreement, a contract. So independent here is where you tell me, look, I'll sell to you, but I don't want you to give me your inputs. I've got my own fertilizer, I've got my own everything. All I'll bring to you is a crop according to your specifications of the crop or the crop variety that you're looking from me. So we have such, and there are many. The Mkushi areas and all these commercial farmers grow independently, but they sell. Why? Those are people that could go to the bank and get the monies against their pivots, their land, and any other asset that they have, and the banks would give them the money. But the contracted farmers, those are the farmers who say, I know the know-how, okay, I have the know-how, I've got the land, but I don't have the money to inject. Then I'll come to you and say, give me the money, then I'll sell to you. Outgrower scheme.
Vending by unlicensed middlemen is reported, disrupting the market. How serious is this issue?
Very serious, and I think one of the motivating traits to why I am on air today or tonight is because of vending. Vending is one area, one element that has caused a lot of disruption in different markets. As I'm speaking to you, the Choma market also faced a few issues. The Chipata market is facing a few issues. The TAS sales flows, the main sales floor here in Lusaka, is facing pockets of vending. So we have people that are not even farmers, but they have the money. They went to the farmers, buy the tobacco. The farmers, in their naive being, okay, or in their desperation, sold the tobacco that was sponsored by another person to this briefcase guy who wants to go and make a killing when they reach the sales floor. Those are the people that are confusing the market. Now, how is that distorting the market? Number one, it's distorting the market because we have the merchants that have sponsored and they are waiting to recover their loans. So how do you recover your loans? if one, the tobacco that you sponsored has been sold to another person. Number two, if everyone who is selling or coming at your sales floor is those that want outright purchase, you are not doing deductions to say, oh, I gave you $1,000, $1,500 for a hectare production, so I'm taking out and I'm giving you ABCD. This is how these people make their money. This is how they retain their investments. So these guys, yes, will come in. Now the problem that we have in this country is we like politicizing matters. And I'm saying this unapologetically. We like politicizing matters. The same vendors, because they know Phil Daka is a friend of mine and is sitting at Tobacco Board of Zambia, they will come to me and complain. The same vendors, because they know, oh, maybe general manager here or director something in the ministry is a friend, they will go and complain. The same vendors, they've attempted even going to the likes of my supervisor, the boss, to say, hey, they are making, but the boss will say, no, I can't entertain these things. How did you arrive at having this kind of crop? You get the point. The same vendors in the spirit of, oh, we are the ones that voted, we are the ones that did ABCD, will line up the roads, go to the media like they are doing and say all sorts of things. We are a regulator who is sanctioned by who? The ministry, which is government. We're a regulator whose objectives, works should reflect the aspirations of who? Government. So why should we be doing the other thing and the government is asking for the other thing? That's not what is obtaining on the ground there. So that's why we are making sure that when we find that there are people that are disrupting the market by bringing foreign materials, bringing vended crop, bringing all this side marketing, we are halting the market to allow for a post-mortem. Okay, so much so that we revert to a transparent and fluid marketing season. Remember, integrity and fairness is something that is embedded in our mission as the Tobacco Board of Zambia. So if you just allow everyone to bring in the level of chaos, mayhem and pandemonium, if you like, then we cease to be the regulator.
Now, there are reports, Mr. Daka, of foreign Haitians operating outside sponsorship rules. Is TBZ aware and what is being done?
We are very much aware to the fact that I think what we are doing is the same things that I'm telling you about. When we know that there's things like of that nature happening, we will halt the market, send in our guys, scrutinize, check who's this one, where are they bringing it from, and then if we know they're not bringing it, we tell them, okay, keep your tobacco. Why am I saying this? Because all these merchants that I mentioned, not all of them sponsored. There are some who are independent, who are looking for independent crop. Remember, there are growers also who are not sponsored.
Yes.
So they want to sell so that they realize and control their bottom line, which is the profit. So now, those merchants that did not sponsor are the ones that go to buy from these guys. Okay? But we're not saying you can cross the border and go and bring the tobacco from there. We don't know how that tobacco was produced. Was it produced within a prescribed radar in terms of chemical compositioning and analysis and traceability?
And same for the farmers, you can't independently export the tobacco.
So you can't export the tobacco as an independent farmer. That's why we have all these flows that are coming here. Okay? Even the importation of tobacco, put it this way, there were some days, some years back when this country had pushed a certain figure in terms of expected volumes. Now, remember, the merchants, the buyers, they have the market. So the market will give them a target. And if that target is not met in this jurisdiction, then they come back to the regulator and say, oh, guys, my target is 17 million kgs. I'm only at 5 million kgs. How do I make up? Then we go to the minister. After a proper verification and a market audit,
yes,
we know that yes, we expected 45 million. We are at 28 million. Where are we going to get the remaining? Then the minister will issue an SI in collaboration with ourselves, the regulator, the people on the ground. The minister will issue an SI to allow for importation of the deficit. Just the deficit. And we need to map jurisdictions where that importation is coming from, because we can't just say, hey, it's here, it's there. We need to map the jurisdictions so that we know that it's a controlled crop, it's properly cultivated, and as it comes here, it does not contaminate our properly cultivated crop. So yes, in response to your question, there are people that are doing such kind of things. And what do? when we maybe people take advantage of how neutral some of the provisions of the Tobacco Act number 10 of 2022 might be, because if I find you wanting, it's not on-spot arrest that I can make. I don't have arresting powers. But what we have done is we have made sure that we have gone into very aggressive and working agreements with the likes of the National Prosecuting Authority, who has the mandate to make sure that any erring citizen there, they pounce. So that's what we have done. The moment we find that Mr. Mwansa has brought in ABCD and you are doing this and that, we will report, and our agents comes in because that lies within their jurisdiction. That's what we are doing.
What is TBZ doing to address illegal deductions being applied by merchants?
So each sales floor has deductions that are stipulated. I'm just short of using the word gazetted. Number one, this is a crop that does not pay these other taxes in its form when it comes to the market, but there's a levy. Okay? There's a 2% levy that the farmer out of their total sales should pay to the regulator. Okay? Now, these sales floor operators, or managers if you want to call them, because you have taken the crop from any other place and have made you become in contact with the buyer, I'm expected to get a certain percentage as a commission for running the flow, for ensuring that there is capacity on the flow, for ensuring that there is an arbitrator, because you know what happens is if you bring the crop to the floor, you might say, since you said it's $5, I want $5. But there has to be an arbitrator there. There has to be a classifier who classifies this tobacco is falling within the echelon of $5. Then I buy it. So there has to be a farmer representative who represents the farmer. There has to be an arbitrator who is there to harmonize and obviously quench the dispute that may arise. There has to be a classifier or a grader who's supposed to grade. There has to be TBZ. So a sale is conducted in the presence of all these other people. Then the farmer will say, okay, yeah, this falls in here and here, then we give it like that. So that's really what happens when the sale is being conducted. Deductions, some of these deductions, yes, we have seen statements and we have written to all these erring companies. For example, there are certain non-deductions. What happens is you may bring the crop thinking it's a good crop, Mr. Mwansa, but the crop is nested or it's got any other, or mixed or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So there's what is called RTGS. You return the tobacco for grading purposes. You get the point? So you return it in the presence of the regulator. You will rebundle, regrade, and reintegrate in the sales cycle. So when you reintegrate, now since you are using the sales flow, you've moved 500 kilometers from your farm to Lusaka. You're using a particular operator's sales flow. They've given you a space to regrade from. They'll give you a certain commission, regrading commission, maybe 0.008 out of that. But there are some merchants, because they've been given a license to operate a sales flow, and they're deducting. They are deducting grading fees, or rehandling fees, whereas the seller has not even rehandled. Those are the people that we are using these airwaves to say, look, we are warning you, and we know you, and we are going to really receive punitive measures from ourselves, because we don't want you to steal from the farmers. The farmers are laboring hard to bring the crop to your sales floor. The farmers are very compliant in paying the government gazetted levy, which is a 2%, and then you want to subject them to an abysmal 5-point-something% reduction. That is not right. Then also an appeal to the farmers. I've told the farmers, because mostly the farmers shy away from speaking without being economical with the truth, because they know the next season when I take it to this sale floor, they won't buy me. But don't complain if you know there are people that are unscrupulously dealing with yourselves and you're not bringing to the regulator. This is why we are here as a regulator. And indeed, in responding to your question affirmatively, we know these people, and definitely we are applying the provisions of the law to ensure that if they've deducted from the farmers,
they pay them back.
They pay them back. They have to pay them back.
The 2% levy that goes to government, you said it's collected from the farmers and not the merchants?
It's collected from the farmers, yes.
What is the compliance levels, of these farmers?
I'll be very honest with you. The compliance levels are very amazing. Very, very amazing. but there are certain farmers who might have been probably been pushed by certain sections of people that feel this is not the befitting collection for the government and the regulator. We need to get back to. So there's all these discussions where we are calling for reduction of levies and all these other things.
Quickly, as we close, Mr. Daka, how does TBZ plan to improve the monitoring and of buying points and agents?
Number one, decentralization is something that we have held closer and we have seen it's working. But unscrupulous stakeholders are taking advantage. We need to make sure that we reinforce. And then even on the sales floors, as the markets are going on, or as the marketing is going on, we going forward are ensuring that we have the law enforcement officers, in this case the police, so much so that the nesting, the vending and any other issue that the marketing frowns about is gotten in real time and reported real time, recorded real time, so that there is no dilution when it comes to us really applying punitive measures. That's what we are doing. Number two, we are in constant talks with the merchants. So the erring merchants, and I didn't mention this, the erring merchants, those that have proven that they are not befitting to some extent, even if they came clothed in sheepskin and all that, they are not befitting to play in the market. We need to scrutinize, and we're not giving licenses to such. So we need to have maybe a streamlined number of merchants, but merchants that mean good and really speak to the societal benefit in terms of tobacco protection.
The board chairperson of the Tobacco Board of Zambia, Mr. Daka, thank you so much for making the time to speak to the Zambians on tonight's edition of Costa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mansa. Good evening.
Well, there you have it. I was having a conversation with the board chairperson of the Tobacco Board of Zambia, Mr. Daka. We were discussing issues pertaining enforcement compliance that the regulator is doing, but also charting a sustainable path forward for Zambia's tobacco industry. On behalf of the entire production crew, my name is Andrew Monsa. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next week.
To know